Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Representative Gill, a rising star in the GOP, brings the receipts to not just grill, but completely destroy the chief of USA Fencing. Let's dive in.
Yes or no? Do you think men should be allowed in women's locker rooms?
I don't have a personal opinion on
You don't have a you have a personal opinion on a lot of things, but not on that.
Sure. I mean, it's a locker room is not really an area where people interact.
So the answer is yes.
I don't
Do you
really
think
have
that men should be allowed to share showers with women in athletic facilities?
I think that showering is a private activity and that it should be private.
And it should be private. There's oftentimes communal showers. Are you okay with men showering with women?
I don't have an opinion on that in the context of USA.
You don't. So. Interesting. That's an astounding thing to not have an opinion on. I think most normal people have an opinion on that. Are you okay with women being at a disadvantage when competing against men in sports?
Sir, mixed events happen all the time, and women are
that's not my question. Are you okay with, let me ask it this way, are you okay with cis females being at a disadvantage?
If their competitor, assuming that you're talking about
it's a yes or no question,
female, that they've met the requirements set forth in the policy.
Why did you post on social media for the world to see? You were asked in an anonymous question, which you posted online, are you okay with cis females being at a disadvantage? You said, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was Congressman Cloud that had asked me about that, sir, and I'm happy to address it again. That was a one-word answer to a more nuanced topic, and I feel like if I could take it back and expound a little bit more than what I had there.
Reclaiming my time.
Sure.
Do you think that do you think that parents who don't want their daughters competing against men in women's sports are whiny?
No, sir.
You don't? Why did you write that on social media? I've got a picture here where you posted that. You were allegedly responding to a parent who didn't want their daughter being beaten up by men in sports competitions. You said, I'm not going to pull her from the sport and write a whiny email announcing my departure.
Sir, Mr. Congressman Jack had asked me about that and want to be crystal clear that was an inappropriate message.
Do you think that they're cowardly?
Sir, no, I don't. I don't at all. And in fact...
Why did you write that on social media?
I regret it, sir. I deleted it shortly after posting it. I certainly don't feel that way anymore. And given a lot of the messages that we receive and even conversations that I've had...
Do you think that
Ms.
parents
Turner,
who don't want their daughters competing against men in sports should be compared to the Ku Klux Klan?
No, absolutely not. And
why did you
I
do
said
that?
that in the message, sir.
Why did you do that?
That was inappropriate.
That was inappropriate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right. That isn't inappropriate. I'd like to read what you wrote and what you posted on social media.
Sure.
Responding allegedly to a lady who had these concerns. The only wizard that's going to dig you out of the myopic hole you've put yourself and your family in is one of the, quote, grand wizard variety.
Inappropriate, sir, and I acknowledge that I said it, and I will commit to never making a message like that again.
That was in response to a parent, according to you on social media, who had a problem with this. Was this a real email that you were responding to?
It was a real email, sir. I did not respond to it and hit send.
This was a real email. Did an actual parent write this, or did you write this email?
It was written by an actual person claiming to be a parent. They were not a member of our...
Were you that actual person?
No, sir.
You were not that actual person, but you staged this whole interaction.
The response, sir, was not real, and I regret that.
Okay. You think inclusivity presumably is a big part of the fencing community, is that right?
I would say so, sir. We're a very welcoming community, and I'm proud of that.
Are you welcoming to Trump supporters?
Absolutely.
Then why did you, in your Facebook page, from the fencing coach, write, imagine being one of 71 million people dumb enough to vote re-election for a treasonous clown who's permanently banned from Twitter for inciting an insurrection, you mad MAGA bros?
I acknowledge that I stated that in my personal capacity, sir. However, as chair,
that was from the fencing coach.
I have to acknowledge that 77 million people voted for him in re-election.
That wasn't your personal capacity. That was from your capacity as, quote, the fencing coach online.
Yes, that is my blog, sir. That's my publication, and I acknowledge writing that.
All right, my time is up. Thank you. I yield back.
Wow.
This keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And I should be shocked by this, but I'm not anymore. I'm almost numb to this nonsense that liberals in sports somehow keep circling the drain just further and further and further down the hole of degeneracy. This is insane, okay? First of all, men should not be in women's sports. This should not be a controversial topic at all, because even people like Serena Williams, who was at one time the pinnacle of female sports, Simone Biles, at the pinnacle of female sports, these people are also smart enough to admit that men's bodies are different than women's bodies. Men have this thing called testosterone, women have this thing called estrogen, and technically we both have them, but women have more estrogen, men have more testosterone. Testosterone means you're going to build more muscle mass, you're going to grow taller, your reflexes are faster, your eyesight's typically a little bit better, and it's more based on movement. This is basic biology. This should be settled science. But it's not to these left-wing nut jobs. And in this clip, things just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. It started off with the deflection that, this really isn't happening. Then denial, I didn't actually write that. Then an admission, yes, I wrote that. Yes, I believe that. And I commit to never, doing this stuff again. How did it get to this? There's a whole cavalcade of representatives just laying into him, and Gill does the best job here. Again, he is a rising star in GOP politics. But the sad reality is, when you allow these liberal lunatics into your sports arenas, they're going to continue to push for these policies that either A, don't make biological sense, or B, don't make logical sense. Okay? It doesn't make sense under any stretch of the imagination. But they want to continue to push the envelope. They want to continue to use the money wherever they're getting it. By the way, again, thank you to Elon Musk for having the Department of Government Efficiency. Thank you to Donald Trump for re-navigating those political waters and sort of repurposing the original thing that was created by Barack Obama. Also, thanks, Obama. And ultimately, what Doge has figured out is that USAID, and by the way, this has been sort of an open secret for a while. If you're a follower of Mike Benz, you probably know this. USAID is the soft political arm of the CIA, and it will fund pretty much anything overseas. But there are other funds that also go to USA Sports and other USA non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and they'll prop up organizations and keep them funded, and then they'll sort of slip in these little ideas here and there saying, hey, you should allow X, Y, and Z. And if you do that, you'll get even more funding. And I think that's what's happening here. But the tide has turned, thank the Lord, in this regard, particularly to USA Fencing, and even the fencing chief is having to do a complete about-face. And you saw it here in this video, but here's a better quote. In the event that USA Fencing is forced to change its current stance in accordance with oversight bodies or federal legislation, the new policy states athletes competing in USA Fencing sanctioned tournaments must compete according to their biological sex. The fact that we had to get to this point is a massive problem. The fact that we even went down this road to begin with. There's a difference between the road less traveled and the road you're not supposed to travel. Okay? When one road leads to certain doom and destruction, you don't go down that road. But for some reason here in the United States, liberals who have been given one of the best countries in the world, with one of the best economies in the world, with one of the best histories in the world. Remember, the United States is a nation that's constantly improving on itself. All right? That is the truth of our history. But liberals keep on wanting to push the envelope to the point where they're so inclusive, that they're so open-minded, that their brains completely spill out. All right, Ronald Reagan definitely got that quote completely right. After all, liberals just know so much that isn't so. And the reason I'm using the word liberal is because this is the natural path that modern liberals have taken in order to get to a point that not only makes no sense from a logical perspective, but also makes no sense from a biological or scientific perspective. Men are different from women. That's just the honest truth. When Serena Williams goes on stage and admits that I think that she said that either the 200th or the 500th ranked tennis player could probably beat her in a one-on-one match. That's because men and women's bodies are completely different, and ultimately the fencing chief had to come to terms with that reality, and you saw it in record time. Again, he went from well, I didn't really have power over this to, yes, those are my opinions, but, well, I'm open to change, and yes, I did this, and I'm going to pursue a different path. This is what taking accountability actually looks like, so I actually want to thank the USA fencing chief for taking accountability for his own ridiculous and, in his own words, myopic comments. But the reality remains that someone somewhere pushed this envelope and it's been pushed too far. Thankfully, there's been some oversight and he's being held to task, but I want to see more change in this world regarding to this. Women's sports deserve to be protected because men participating in them is not fair to women. End of story. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.